None at all. I didn't even know about it till I turned up at the press conference. So that kind of, I was kind of sprung on me, but I kind of saw the kind of funny side. But it's kind of gone now, I think. I think there's a lot more thought gone into the actual the story, or the story, the one big story, that the storylines, in that it's not a series of episodes, which I think it was last year. It was a series of episodes that had villains that died at the end and things like that. It was a bit predictable, in my opinion. And I feel this year with Ken and kind of being at the helm, he's developed a very rich, kind of diverse kind of environment, which all these very dark and diverse characters can thrive, and which is brilliant for me because I have something very real and deep to play off. And it's not just a series of stories. It is, but I mean, because of its very nature, it's episodic, but it is one story that leads to a final ending, and the beauty is that it's kind of explained as you're going along. There's things that are thrown out there, and they're always followed up at some time or other in the story, and it kind of, at the end, they all join together, and there's a hell of a lot of twists and turns, and it was just much richer and much more thoughtful and intelligent, and I think an audience likes to be able to immerse themselves in something and guess and think, and they're not stupid. I try and kind of gather as much information as I can about the character and his background and who he is and what he is, his mannerisms, his psychology. I mean, in this instance, it was a character called Dmitry Petrovich, and he was a Russian mobster. And I spent quite a lot of time in Russia, in the Crimea. I was there for kind of best part of 2 years. So, and I was in Moscow, and I've got a lot of Russian friends. So I mean, it was something that it was familiar to me. But I do my background, as much as I can, and that's about it. I don't kind of get too kind of I don't get kind of method about it, but I'm I guess I'm in between kind of not method and method, whatever that is. Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's a long list, but we have some really, really brilliant actors in the show this year. So we do have Morris Chestnut back very briefly for a few episodes, and he does take his shirt off, I will tell you that. That's exclusive, you heard that here first. But no, one of the main characters of season 2 is a character called Curtis Ballard, and he's played by a wonderful actor called Steve Kazee, who won a Tony Award for Once in New York here a few years ago, and he just did some great work last year on Shameless. He's a really brilliant actor. He plays a very complicated character called Curtis Ballard. And so very excited for audiences to get to know him. We have a brilliant young Irish actress called Aisling Franciosi, who, for people who've watched The Fall, she has a very significant role in The Fall, and she plays a very significant role in this show. Her character is called Kate Crawford, and her relationship with Sean's characters is really kind of the emotional center of the story that we tell for the whole season. And we have a wonderful Czech actress called Klára Isová, who's actually a big star in the Czech Republic. She's done like 30 films, and she's really brilliant. She plays a character called Ilyana Zakhaeva, and she's really great. So those are like 3 of them, but I think there's just we could go on and on, right? I mean, you remember all the names. It's a big cast, but we've got some really brilliant actors, and they're not such familiar faces, they're new, fresh faces for people to get to know, and I think the audience, I hope, is going to embrace them. And like Sean said, we really dig into their characters, so we really get to know them. If the audience invests in the show over the course of the 10 episodes, they really will get to know a lot about all these characters. I wasn't pressured at all. I was asked to use my imagination to come up with a new approach to telling the story, and I have to say that the studio, Fox 21, and the network TNT were really fully supportive of the approach that I came up with, and once Sean was on board, they really didn't pressure me at all. We did think it was important mutually, I thought so too, to have a link for the audience that had seen season one, to have a link that would join the stories together, and that was the impetus for including Morris's character, Tony Rice. We only had Morris available for a limited number of episodes because, of course, he had a new show coming on, but he very graciously came to London and Prague and did a few episodes with us. So that was important to me for the audience, but no, there was no pressure.
Yes, I guess one of them was New Zealand, and doing Lord of the Rings. That was a wonderful experience. It really was, because it was a kind of magical time. You know, being involved with Lord of the Rings was magical, and the country and the countryside and the wilderness, and I guess we were all there for quite a long time. We were all getting to know each other, and so that was probably the most memorable place I've been.
Well, I hope they love that they're actually going to get an answer to who Martin Odom is, who he really is. So if they invest in the show and they watch for 10 episodes, they won't be teased. They'll be given an answer, and I think it's a pretty interesting one, I hope. And of course, they'll get lots of Sean Bean, which I think is great. I mean, really digging his teeth into two roles, you know, not jumping around from character to character, but playing two characters that are really different from each other, but ultimately we start to realize how they're connected. And I think what they'll get is a kind of a richer exploration of the characters. And of course, you know, the show is very character-based and very psychological and emotional this year, but I do think we honor the spy thriller aspect of it. So so I think they will get the intrigue of a spy show and a lot of mystery and a chance to play along and put pieces together. So I hope that they will enjoy that.
I think the fact that we kind of shifted it to Europe and to Prague in particular has a lot to do with that. It's much darker and edgier, kind of raw, gritty feeling to it. And we're not afraid to go to places where we didn't go to in the first series. We're not afraid to go there this time, and we push it, and I love that. You know, we love doing that, and so does Ken. So I think it's much more gripping, much more adventurous, bolder production.